is probably my favorite like spider sense sequence, maybe of all time. He just kind of feels. He's like he knows someone in the room is about to do something, but he doesn't know who. And he's just like looking, trying to figure out which one of them is about to do their heel turn.
And then he closes his eyes and just lets his spider sense take over.
Some neat trick, that spider sense of yours. Like,
Yeah.
the way he does it, so good.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pipe Bomb Podcast, episode 194. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. We are joined by the one, the only, the fabulous, the amazing, someone that has no way home today. It's Jake. Jake is back.
Somehow I did manage to find my way home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could say there's a lot of madness going on in this city.
That would have been a better opener. Someone that's absolutely mad would have been a better opening. But Jake's back on the show. Jake, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome as always. We've obviously been going through our retrospective towards the MCU, through the MCU. We're coming towards the end here, man. We're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. We're talking about Doctor Strange through the multiverse of into the multiverse of madness.
In the multiverse,
yeah. So a couple left here, a couple shows, couple movies left to go through here, and then we're kind of wrapped up as we build into Avengers Doomsday, which comes out in
less than 6 months.
Yeah. No, as of when this is coming out, it'll be 5 months. 4.5.
Yeah.
It's here. It's basically here.
It's being recorded at the end of June, by the way.
Yeah, this come out like midway through July, I think. But yeah, no, I'm you kind of called dibs on this episode a while ago. I think before you even did the first Doctor Strange episode we filmed back in October.
Yeah,
so, long time coming.
I mean, with the nature of what this one is, could you blame me for calling dibs on it so early?
No, I've had multiple people also try and call dibs. I'm like, sorry, it's taken. So I'm already calling it.
So I was smart to get this one early.
Absolutely. But yeah, obviously we're gonna be going through those movies here in a bit. We're gonna get the show rocking and rolling. We're not gonna have too much of a preload today because these are two very big movies in terms of like conversations, and I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about both. But we're gonna do a little game to start off the show. We tested this game out a couple weeks ago. It went pretty well. But this is a game we like to call Hot or Not, Jake. So I have a bunch of statements. These aren't right statements. These aren't wrong statements. They're just statements, opinions that people may have. And you're going to tell me, is this opinion hot or is it not? Is it a hot take or is it not a hot take?
Okay.
Some of these may be garnered towards your interests. Some of these may not. We'll see. Let's start off with this one. Puss in Boots, the first movie, the first one, is the best DreamWorks movie ever made.
So by saying hot, do I agree with that statement or no?
I guess if you say hot, you would say that's a hot take. So like that would mean that you would not agree with it.
As much as I enjoy the movie, I think there are slightly better DreamWorks ones, but it is up there. I'll say that.
What would you say is your number one DreamWorks movie? So it's not How to Train Your Dragon. We've been over this.
Yeah.
It's not The Wild Robot.
I would have to sit down and
Fair enough.
Think of all the DreamWorks movies. I'll say this. I mean, this one's just kind of a personal one. I always really liked Over the Hedge. That was always a fun one.
All right. Fair enough. Can't harm you for that one. Harm you? Why did I say harm you?
Whoa.
Put them up. The DCU. We're about to get Supergirl here. And actually, it is here at the time that we are recording this. The DCU is safe with James Gunn.
I would say hot.
Okay.
as in, can't really say that yet.
Fair, fair. I'm. It's been a rocky start, hasn't it? It's been a. I'm not gonna say it's not in good hands with James Gunn because I think long term probably will be. Um, but right now I'm in a spot of like I can take it or leave it currently.
Yeah. And listen, you know, do I acknowledge Gunn's got plenty of credit as a filmmaker? Yes, even though if a chunk of his stuff isn't for me,
Mm-hmm.
I I, I just wonder if they would not have been better going with an individual who's not doubling as a filmmaker while being the head of
Mm,
DC, if that makes sense.
I
Like
get that.
I hate to go immediately to the other side for comparison, but like you don't see Kevin Feige directing like a Spider-Man movie or a X-Men movie or an Avengers movie. He's not actively filming the movies while being the head of everything.
I think there's positives and negatives to that. I think the positives are you get this like one-on-one relationship with the person that's running these studios and stuff like that. But you also have someone that's a little too connected and cares, maybe a bit too much. But it's also good to care. I don't know. It's definitely a double-edged sword, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
balancing act.
I guess maybe we'll have to reach back to this question at the end of 2026 for me. Once we
Yeah,
get, I mean, I still have not seen Supergirl. I'm going like 30 minutes after we get done recording today, so I'm right on the edge of seeing it. And then Lanterns and Clayface also come out later this year, so we'll see.
yeah, I'm excited for those.
Speaking of the other side, Avengers Doomsday will be the best Avengers movie.
It could be. I don't know if I can confidently say that yet, but I mean it could be.
Sure.
Sorry to like go in the middle on all these
No,
questions.
you're good. I I'm gonna put a prediction in the sand to say no. I have. It's gonna be hard to me for me to beat Infinity War. I think it's gonna be really hard. So if I
So
was to make a prediction right now, I would say no.
so on the size and scale and everything it accomplishes, Infinity War like is probably the best of those movies. And then like on the other end of that spectrum, uh, director aside, I do enjoy this what I guess is now viewed as the simplistic nature of the first Avengers film.
Me too.
Because I mean, if you weren't there in 2012 without like seeing how all this stuff came to be, a lot of these team ups are
Mm,
commonplace in blockbusters now, and they seem like just something that happens every day. But
yeah.
you would never had a thing where 4 or 5 franchises were all combining together into one big movie like that.
Agreed.
So I think just because of the milestone that it achieved, on top of just being a really solid movie, it kind of holds that impact.
Hmm. Agreed. I still really love that first Avengers movie.
Yeah,
Um. Sometimes, every once in a while, we will bring up how we both really love the show Fringe. Great show. Fantastic
yeah,
show.
yeah.
Is Fringe the best use of the multiverse put to screen? It's tough.
What would the contenders be? That's what I'm wondering.
Fringe is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was about to say
Fringe was,
what would the contenders be?
I'd say, what are the contenders? I'd say Everywhere, Everywhere, or Everything Everywhere All at Once is up there. I'd say.
Okay.
I'd
Um.
say, I'd honestly say Peak of the Arrowverse is up there as well. And they
Yeah.
used it well. They used it well.
Yeah. And I'll throw one kind of out there example from like 2003, years ago. There was a Jet Li movie. It was called The One, where they were, like breaking into alternate realities. That was my first exposure to like multiverse and stuff in
Sure.
media. So that one might just be nostalgic reasons
Hmm.
why I would go for that. But Fringe is really damn good. I think it's one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah, Fringe really reinvented the wheel before it needed to be reinvented. Like it uses the multiverse as this, not as like a cameo, device, but as this way of just telling this very intricate story that spans the course of
Yeah.
about 100 episodes. Like, it's so fascinating. And like, if you watch most of season 1, you're like, no way this is a multiverse show. No way they're fully
Yeah.
diving into it. And as you get in season 2, it hints at it a bit more. And by the
Yeah.
time you're in season 3, 4, and 5, it's like,
I
oh, all right, well, we are in it.
Yeah, they really go wild with the whole notion of how different can a world be, and they
Yes.
go into it pretty good.
Yeah, I adore Fringe. You'll love this question. Wildcat from Arrow is the greatest fictional character of all time.
Hot.
I mean, I think this is just common sense. I think everyone would agree that probably the best character on Arrow, easily, without a doubt. Best adaptation of a comic book character, without a doubt.
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
Here's my real Arrow question.
Okay.
Arrow is the best live-action DC TV show.
Damn it. You know, the thing is, there's really only one contender. Otherwise, I probably would have said yes.
Which is Superman Lois?
Yeah, it's probably my only contender.
Okay.
I mean, yes, I love those early Flash seasons, but it's hard to ignore the cliff that show falls off of in the back half. Whereas Arrow, did it have a rocky bit in the middle? Yeah, but I feel like it was able to rebound and it ended really strong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, while I might favor it on a given day, I won't say it's the best, but I won't ignore the impact that it had, because like, we'd be having a very different conversation right now about just superhero media as a whole if that show didn't exist.
I agree. Or if it just existed differently. Like, it was almost a Smallville spinoff.
Yeah. I mean, they were even trying to pitch other shows with DC characters to go off of Smallville. They originally wanted to try something with Deadman, and they went the Arrow route instead. And I'm kind of glad that they did. So somewhere out there in the multiverse, the Deadverse exists, you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be interesting because it's like, you know, people joke about it a lot, but it is also very clear they wanted Batman and they said no, right? Those are the early bones of it. So fascinated what it would look like if they said yes, right?
Yeah.
If they're like, go for it, just do Batman.
Or
living in a wholly different world, I feel like.
I think on the opposite side of that, it would be equally as fascinating if they went more into comics Oliver Queen instead of trying to intermix it with Batman so much, because season 1 really did that. You know, they showed the Playboy party nature side of him, and then when you get into like season 4, 5, and 6, they show his political side and him being the mayor and whatnot. But a lot of the core Oliver Queen aspects, particularly the sense of humor, were not there.
Yeah, I think season 1, for the most part, that's just Batman. Like, that's just a Batman show for 90% of that season, I'd say. Which I'm okay with. I like what Arrow became, and I have a soft spot for it. But I also understand it's not necessarily the most accurate take on the character.
No.
It's a very different take.
Yeah, and I'll admit that, you know, like, while Justin Hartley on Smallville might have been a better representation of Oliver Queen, I think Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen was leaps and bounds better as a character. So
I think it's the version that they needed for their universe. Like, I've always said, and, you know, it's weird because we later get some of these characters, but it's like, for a while, Oliver was Batman, Barry was like our Superman, and they had that like dynamic deal, which changes up a bit once you actually get an actual like Supergirl and Superman, and you get more of the Bat elements into it in the later seasons and stuff. But like the bones were there. And it's kind of what they needed to build upon this DC universe.
I mean, the only reason why certain DC movies were even in demand was because of the success of those shows.
Sure.
So,
yeah, and I think, like, not to go off on a tangent, but I think that's kind of what makes the CW special, is it was a universe that had nothing, and they're like, but let's see what we can make with nothing. Like, let's see, we don't have the budgets, we don't have the resources, but let's make something cool anyways and just see what comes out of it. Was it always good? No. Sometimes it was bad, but when it was good, it was something really cool, and I'm really glad those shows exist.
Yeah, I'm glad Greg Berlanti kind of took the second chance they gave him after getting screwed on the Green Lantern movie. because
Yeah,
that
it's
was the
crazy.
because that was the alternative. They were like, "Hey, would you want to do something else?" And he was like, "I'll do Green Arrow on television."
And it was crazy too because he was one of the voices before James Gunn signed on that they were considering for this
Yeah,
new DC universe. They were like, could it be this guy? And I'll be honest, I would be curious what that would look like. I'm not saying it's even the right choice, but I would be curious what he would have given them
with the
if
budget
given.
to work with, yeah, I would have been curious.
I I would have been okay with it if done. Obviously, he's not perfect. He made mistakes. Trust me, he made some mistakes.
Yeah,
Um,
him and
but so was
Guggenheim both
Gunn.
definitely.
so so we'll see. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
But yeah, we're going to transition into our main thoughts again, or like our main topic here. I want to have the time to be able to fully talk about these movies because again, these are two very big movies.
Yeah,
Um, and I think I want to title this episode something about like the true start of the multiverse saga or something like this because thus far there wasn't a lot of the multiversey things in the MCU up until this point. I mean, we had What If season 1 that I didn't do in this retrospective. I also skipped down on Loki season 1 as I'm just going to pair season 1 and 2 together once I get to season 2. Um, but really, at least on the big screen, this was the first introduction to the multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unless you count Endgame with
well,
their time travel logic, I guess, kind
well,
of.
well, I wasn't even gonna say Endgame. I was gonna say, and I've talked to you about this before, but
Mhm.
I think that actually, even though I have a lot of issues with the movie, I think Far From Home would have been a better start to the multiverse
I
saga
agree.
because even though the whole notion of Mysterio being from another universe ends up being a lie, it's in that movie that they introduced the concept of
The
it
concept.
right out of the gate. So I thought it would have been a better start.
And actually, I guess that's also kind of a lie because if you look back to Doctor Strange 1, that's kind of, I guess, where they plant the seeds for the multiverse in that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
By word only, just like conversation only, where it's like, oh yeah, it exists. We're not seeing it right now, but it's out there somewhere.
yeah.
Um,
It was kind of their way of saying we don't know what we're allowed to do yet, but this exists.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're gonna be jumping into our first movie here, which is Spider-Man: No Way Home. Um, Wrapping up the first Tom Holland Spider-Man John Watts trilogy. We've obviously previously done Homecoming, which is my favorite of these movies, and then Far From Home we did with our buddy Ian a couple months ago. Um, no Way Home wrapped it up. I mean, this is such a fever dream of a movie for me. The like lead up to No Way Home.
Yeah,
Like, I think there needs to be a documentary about the lead up to No Way Home. And I think next to Infinity War and Endgame, this is the biggest like lead up to a Marvel movie that I have in my mind. Like I remember every step of the way of just like I remember like, because I think the first signs of it was when Jamie Foxx was confirmed to be in like in this movie. Like I think he was before any of the other actors were confirmed
like
or anything. And it was like
I I don't remember if it was Jamie Foxx first or if it was Alfred Molina first.
I think it was Jamie Foxx because I
It was one of
remember
those two.
like that like disgusting film came and I was like, what the hell? Why the fuck is Jamie Foxx in the movie? Like why are they
Yeah,
bringing Electro back? We didn't know it was a multiverse movie yet. We didn't know what they were doing.
yeah.
And then yeah, slowly I think like Alfred was confirmed and like some of these other I don't remember when was William confirmed as well before the trailers or no?
No, not before the
Okay.
trailers.
That was a trailer thing. Okay.
Yeah,
Um but yeah, and then obviously there were rumors, rumors upon rumors upon rumors upon rumors. Um, I remember very like all the like leaks that we were looking at.
yeah.
I There was a certain YouTuber that has a very viral moment considering the movie, which is in my it's in my vocabulary all of the time, which I think is very funny and just like. But like I think what was so special about this is we didn't technically know. Like we thought we knew.
No, I mean there were a bunch of low res images, ones with a Campia watermark on them,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing officially that we had seen. There's a worst kept secret in Hollywood. Like we all kind of knew, but
Hmm.
they let that be a surprise in the theater, which I was grateful for. But
Me
we'll
too.
get there.
We'll get there. But yeah, just kind of like general opinion as we kind of get into it, because again, I have no idea where we're even going to start with a movie like No Way Home. But what's your kind of just like general opinions on No Way Home?
So again, this is a movie that I really, really gel with and means a lot to me for a lot of personal reasons.
Hmm.
I mean, Spider Man's my favorite superhero, so getting like going into it with what we knew concrete was that we were getting these multiversal villains in the movie. So that concept alone interested me, but then it was a lot of returning villains, some of which we knew, others of which were speculated at the time, but not officially confirmed until we got into the movie. Um, and not only is Spider-Man my favorite superhero, but as far as Marvel characters, Strange has always been one of my favorites too. Which
Hmm.
he does have a role in this movie,
He
which
does.
I I think actually uh, people would often criticize his decisions in this movie, but I think, and we'll get to it, but I think the actions of his next movie make this one better in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and I like the interactions between them. It was a little what's the word? I think the trailers might have misled people a little bit into thinking that Strange is going to do this dangerous reality spell behind Wong's back.
Hmm.
But then when you see it in the actual film, Wong just says, "Hey, listen, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. Just leave me out of it." And then he leaves.
Yeah.
Um, and they're setting up, or they're reestablishing what the status is of the world, um, more after the snap, which this is one of the first movies that really dove into the established side that we knew, because obviously Black Widow took place before that. Shang-Chi and Eternals were diving into new worlds
Hmm.
entirely. So this is where you got to return to that established place that we knew, because Far From Home was out of New York very quickly in the movie, and frankly they paid it off with they just kind of played it for a not too funny joke, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I will say, like, the MCU does a lot more with the snap idea than I remembered them doing it. Like, obviously, Black Widow doesn't do it too much, but I think this movie does it quite a bit. Hawkeye does it with the whole Yelena thing.
Yeah,
Um, WandaVision does it with Monica and seeing
yeah,
like her come back from the snap.
yeah.
I
Well, there is that. Is it in Hawkeye where you see Yelena like fade and then come back? Is that in Hawkeye? Okay.
Yes, which is probably my favorite scene in Hawkeye because it's such a chilling sequence of her just going away and having to come back. Even like the like start of Hawkeye when like he like goes to the bathroom and he sees that like Thanos was right on the thing, and obviously like Falcon the Winter Soldier is kind of all about the like consequences of the snap, and like
Yeah,
we can say what you want about Phase 4, but like the bones were there. These like early Phase 4 projects, they had the bones of building on what Endgame kind of set up, and like what like like dealing with the consequences of these actions. And I definitely agree, like yeah, this movie definitely at least in the first act deals with the consequences of Endgame and kind of where
yeah,
we leave Peter, I'd say.
yeah. And it shows that Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme now, with Strange being
Mm,
gone for that 5 year period. Um, and there are some funny little bits of banter in there. Even the little bits between Peter and Strange where they're like, we saved half the universe together. You don't have to call me sir. So, all right, well, Steven, he's like, it's weird, but I'll allow it. It's like little bits like that that I think are really true to those characters. And then you learn more about what's underneath the Sanctum Sanctorum, which wasn't seen in the original movie. That little Undercroft area where those ruins where Strange goes to perform the spell, that wasn't there in the first movie. So you're getting um, to explore a little bit more of his world before being thrown headfirst into his sequel movie, and I like that aspect of it, which leads to I admit leads to the moment that I was heavily criticizing before the movie came out.
mm,
Um, because as awesome as the movie looked, I'm sitting here thinking, are we really about to get all this awesome stuff because a high schooler wouldn't shut up and a grown man went along with the whims of this
Mm.
high schooler? That was my thought going into it. It's like the fact that these two people couldn't sit like adults and talk about this, about any of the ramifications of this before they attempted to brainwash everybody in reality.
Sure.
That was my thought going into it. And I'm like, you know what? Because of how much Spider-Man in particular has gone through, I think he would probably overlook the stakes of that. It would just feel like another cosmic act to him.
Yeah.
And Strange, as we know, is the type of individual that's very arrogant, believes he can control any sort of danger, believes he knows best. And when you put those two mindsets together, it can be kind of a dangerous combination.
I really like the line from Strange where he talks about like, despite everything, I forget you're still a kid.
Still a
That you're
kid,
still
yeah.
yeah, and I think like he thinks of him as if he would think of Tony or Thor or like any of these other Avengers. But yeah, he still is a child. And I think he very sympathizes with. Actually, I think very leads very well to with Doctor Strange too, which we'll talk about later. But about like ruining the opportunities you had because you made the wrong call. Like I think he very much sympathizes with that idea, and probably is like, no, I want him to have the future that I can't because I
Yeah,
screwed my opportunities up.
yeah.
Like I think that leads very well with each other. But I also love as soon as he was like, wait, you didn't even do any research before you came here. No, go talk to them first, you dummy. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Um, which like
Which,
maybe you could call Peter dumb for that, but I think he's also just like you said, kind of been through a lot these last couple years, and he's just trying to deal with being outed and coming back after 5 years, and his mentor dying in his arm, all this stuff. So I can definitely give him a sort of
yeah.
pass, I'd say.
Well, even Strange too. Before all that happens, and Wong's cautioning him on the danger. Strange is like, "Come on, like, hasn't he been through enough?"
Yeah.
So, like, there's moments there that I get, and like little moments around the school too. Just as like a little thing here while we're still in the first act. As that little bit of world building and nice touches, they give this version of Betty, the one of the classic lines that comes from a different character. They give her
Mhm.
the tiger line, which I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But they do, by making her like a high school reporter, they at least they show you, hey, she's somewhat connected to news and media. You might see her at the Daily Bugle later, which
Yeah.
you do get, beyond just a cameo. You do get J.K. Simmons back in this movie, which
You do.
I thought was really awesome. It's one of those characters that just, again, like I'm not usually the type of person to say, yeah, I can't see anyone else doing this. That's one of the characters that it's going to be very hard to find someone else to do that.
Yeah, there's gonna be no one that can get on his level in terms of that character, and so yeah, this kind of just his at this point. And I do hope he's in Brand New Day. I know he hasn't been confirmed to be in Brand New Day yet, but I hope it's one of the things they're trying to keep a little bit more hush hush. So when he appears, it's like, oh my gosh, it's him.
Yeah,
Um, I will say I really love this movie, and we will get to the stuff I love as soon as we get into the second act and third act, especially. The first act isn't my favorite in this movie, I'd say. Not that I think it's horrible, but I think especially the first like 10 to 20 minutes, I think it kind of does a lot of the things that I don't love out of MCU Spider-Man. Not to say there's not good in there, but like when he like goes into like the like apartment and they do the like half naked joke again after the last movie with him and MJ, and they do the whole like happy Aunt May banter stuff, and like that some of that dialogue doesn't really work well for me. It feels a little bit too much of the MCU humor that I don't always adore. Um and so I definitely think the movie like this is a weird movie because I do think this movie is definitely riddled with like MCU behind the scenes, not meddling, but like this felt like a project that they were very close on, very much like it has to be done this way, this way, this way. So you see the bones of it, and I think you see the positives and negatives of those effects, in the good ways and the bad ways. Um, but I think they find their footing very quickly. Like even if it starts off a
yeah,
little I don't know, loose sided. I think they find their way.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. I didn't mind too much of the humor just because I think it was done better in this movie, and especially comparison to the last one. Like you
Mm,
said, that whole like half naked joke from the last movie, I feel like it plays a lot better here, just because like it's two teenagers, just completely wrong place, wrong time, wrong
sure.
context, wrong idea. So like all the ingredients for like, oh, that's a little awkward. Which that hijinks of circumstances plays a lot better for me than a grown woman telling teenage Peter Parker, "Hey, take off your clothes."
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like
Neither of those
so.
scenes work for me, and I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I'm not like guy yells at clouds. Like I don't think the opening is like bad or anything. It's just some of it feels a little, I don't know, tongue in cheek for me. I also don't love the like Scooby Doo this
Right.
shit line from Strange. Like that's another one that feels a little off-sided to me. Um, but I'll say the first act
Yeah.
has my one of my favorite moments in the movie, which is the Charlie Cox cameo, which was a very big deal at the theater.
Yeah, which that was a, I mean, definitely not the biggest reveal in the movie, but people
Mhm.
who were kind of in the know, they were speculating that he would be there, and I like how
Yeah.
they reveal it with the cane,
Hmm.
or before you actually see him. Somebody in my theater, actually, when that happened, I have a very vivid memory from my theater experience of this movie. Someone behind me actually said, "That guy was in Stardust," which is a movie he was in like 20 years ago, which is probably his most recognizable role outside of Marvel.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was just a funny interaction, and like
Hmm.
it wasn't, like there were a few gasps in there because I saw this movie multiple times around then, and I don't know, like again, I thought it was really cool seeing him, and then he's essentially says that, hey, these charges won't stick, your trouble's fine, and that felt not like a hand wavy method of getting rid of the trouble, but a natural method of doing it. And then you get that little sneak peek of what he's capable of when he catches that brick going through the window. I
I'm
was
a
like,
really good lawyer. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, that's good stuff there, and a little bit of a meta scene too, because you have John Favreau in there talking to Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
John Favreau was happy in the Ben Affleck movie, so a little bit of a
Foggy.
meta thing there. Yeah, yeah, Foggy. I don't know why I said happy. But yeah, no, he was Foggy in the '03 Daredevil movie, so
Hmm.
a little bit of a meta full circle moment there.
Yeah, my theater didn't both times had no idea who this was. I had to hold myself back from doing the like the chat the like, the clap cheer thing that I was used to at the time for these Marvel movies because I was like, oh, everyone's obviously going to be cheering too, and dead
Yeah,
silent. And like my friend leaned over and was like, who's that? I was like, dude, it's fucking Daredevil. It's Matt Murdock.
yeah,
Like what are we doing? Um,
yeah.
but
Thankfully, my brother caught on to that because he recognized the glasses and the stick. Because like I've been catching him up on Marvel over the years, and whenever I had my reaction, like you, I had to be kind of um, reeled in about it. I was like, "Ooh," and he was like, "Is that Daredevil?" I'm like, "Yep."
yeah, no, it's it's crazy. I talked about this uh last week when I filmed my Hawkeye and Eternals episode, where like this was the start of the Daredevil renaissance in the MCU, and from
Yeah,
this point onward, he's arguably the most consistent character post Endgame saga. Like like you have Kingpin in Hawkeye, then he appears here, he appears again in She-Hulk, he appears again in Echo, then two and now three seasons of Daredevil
yeah,
Born Again. They both are going to appear in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man here later this year. Like they're everywhere. Like they are just probably the most consistent thing in the MCU currently, which, depending on if you like him or not, is either a good thing or a bad thing. I guess.
yeah. I just don't want it to turn into those too much of a good thing
Yeah,
situations.
agreed. He's even rumored for like Brand New Day here shortly, so it's like, yeah, it's definitely a lot of them, but makes me happy because I do like Matt Murdock.
Oh yeah,
The first villain to appear is Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, which I like and dislike the scene. I still kind of wish he wasn't in the Iron Spider suit for the scene. I understand why he is, because they obviously want the octopus versus the multiple legs dynamic. Like that's a fun dynamic.
Yeah, I get
But
that.
but I'm also like, but it kind of ruins the arc you set in Far From Home that he's not like the whole point of both Homecoming and Far From Home is the story about I am not Iron Man. I'm my own hero. I'm my own individual thing. And then he's still wearing the Iron Spider suit. It's like you're kind of deflecting the arc that you set him on in the last one. And
So
so, yeah.
I I think it's kind of just I don't necessarily think in those moments he's falling like he's trying to be Iron Man again. He's just in. It's one
And
of
this,
those rock
I
and a
get it.
hard place things to where like, hey, you know what? Like this is the tool. He's not in the homecoming mindset of oh, I'm nothing without the suit. He's
Hmm.
just utilizing it because the at this point the Far From Home red and black suit has got that green like smeared paint all over it,
Yeah,
so can't really use that one.
I get it.
So this is the only one that's able to use at the moment.
I get it. It's just I don't think it helps the argument for people. I think is the
Oh,
big thing. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the
sure.
he's just Iron Man Junior and stuff like that. And like
Yeah,
my thing is like no he's not. He's his own hero. It's like yeah, but he's wearing the suit. And I'm like okay yeah I know he's wearing the suit. Like I get it.
yeah.
It's I.
I mean, I mean, I've never liked that costume, admittedly.
Mhm.
So whenever it was gone after that, I wasn't too upset.
No, yeah, I think it's like I think it was fun in Infinity War. Like I love it in that moment when he puts it on him and there's that big reveal, and I like that moment, and I even like it in Far From Home because that's the arc. The whole arc is him being like, I have to be this person because that's what everyone is expecting me to be, and like the whole journey is like, oh no, I have to be my own individual person. I need to stand up, whatever. Um, but I think that fight scene is very fun. I like
Yeah,
that he like programs the Bluetooth whatever to control Doc
yeah,
Ock. Like that's very
yeah.
fun. That's very fun.
Because you're talking about technology from like 2004 that's intermixing with technology from 2024.
Yes, Stark
So
technology.
it's an
Yeah.
interesting. But there are so many little details from this sequence that I love. I'll try not to spend too much time on it because we have a lot to
Mm,
go through. But you have that little bit where he breaks into the suit and he realizes that it's nanotech because Otto Octavius is a brilliant scientist too.
yeah.
He knows that it's tech, and that was even speculated because you saw parts in the trailer where his arms had a red glow to them. They're like, is he going to get some Stark tech? And technically, in that
Mm,
moment, he did. But
yeah.
also just that little moment where you see the arms onto the bridge and they enter there, and the theme from Spider-Man 2 starts playing, and again, simple line of dialogue. Hello, Peter. That was one of the first many big cheers throughout my
Yeah.
theater. And the people to the right of me were like, what's happening? Why is everybody so excited to see him? Because they were a little bit younger and just didn't really know. And whereas you got me and the other people to my left just clapping a bunch. Um, but I mean, I also really love Doctor Octopus as a villain, and honestly, I don't think that in a handful of Spider-Man action scenes prior to then, even in
Mm,
ones like Vulture, they kind of did it with Vulture, but like they showed how dangerous the Raimi Spider-Man villains can be in this movie, and how
mm,
much of a threat they are to Tom Holland. Because like he was like, if not for that technological advantage, Tom Holland might not have walked out of that. Um,
mm,
and even when you see that when he fights certain later villains in the movie, he's getting his ass kicked.
yeah.
So he definitely they definitely show you how much of a threat those villains are, and I like that because I mean you haven't really seen Holland throughout this movie. You haven't seen him have that level of fear in him,
Mm,
except for when he was getting snapped away. So I think they did a good job of creating dread, and they even throw back in some of Alfred Molina's classic lines. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand, things like that. And like you're gonna have your people that know the lines and they're cheering and oohing and awing at that. But I also don't think it ruins the scene for people who aren't as in the know.
yeah. I think it's interesting because this is definitely the most in terms of power scaling, like the hardest mission I think he has up until this point. Like if you look at his past two movies, you have Vulture, which is, give him like a run for his money, but I wouldn't say he's like a powerful villain. It's more about the like relationship that makes the thing hard. And
Yeah,
Mysterio is
and
obviously
he
his
was
big thing,
just
but
yeah.
there's more so
Well,
illusions. And every other
with
fight you
Vulture,
see
he
him
was
have,
also just with Vulture, he was also just scared because he was on his own for the first time.
yeah. And then like every other, like, obviously he fights Thanos and stuff, but he has an entire team with him. Like he's not soloing
Yeah.
fighting Thanos. So for a lot of this movie, it is him just doing it on his own. And he does a great job. Like the whole scene when he's like fighting Strange towards the second act of the movie, which I think
Yeah.
is where the movie really starts to pick up and really
Okay.
starts to get really
Yeah.
good. Like that's a fantastic scene as
Yeah.
well, because you get to
Yeah.
see
I like
this
that
movie
one.
as a whole does a really good job at showing the smarts of Peter Parker. Like he
Oh
is a
yeah.
very smart character, and be like, oh, this is just algebra. I can do algebra, and he does his little thing, and he gets trapped. Like that was a fantastic sequence. I love
Oh
that
yeah.
entire
No,
bit.
no, I like that a lot. And
Yeah.
it was more of those Doctor Strange insane kaleidoscope visuals that you saw a lot of in the first movie brought back here
Mm-hmm.
for that sequence. Uh and also they put Spider-Man on a train for a big action sequence again, which Spider-Man 2 made popular. Um
Yes.
but we get after that whole Doc Ock sequence, you get your introduction to the main villain, which there were it was dead silence in the theater as they started looking toward the sky, and you just hear you don't hear any sound. All of a sudden you hear the metal clanging on the ground and dropping. Some of us knew right then and there, and then we saw that bomb. You immediately
Mm-hmm.
knew. You hear the laugh, and then you see him enter the full frame, the fucking Green Goblin. And for this one scene, you see him wear the entire full getup, which
Yeah.
people criticize that thing right there in particular. Did do I have a fondness for it? Yes. Did I grow up, watching that? Also, yes. So maybe that's part of the reason why I like it a lot. I even have a Funko of him from this movie up there. Um, so yeah, I was glad that we at least saw that look for one scene, but kind of liked that later in the movie they go the more hooded look, which
Yeah, I like that
yeah
look a lot.
yeah I
Yeah.
I like that look, but I was glad we saw this for at least one more scene.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the more tense scenes in the movie is when that helmet is just kind of mounted on the dumpster in the alleyway and it's taunting him. You coward, we have a whole world to
Yeah.
conquer. And you can see Norman, he's dealing with that split personality where,
Mm-hmm.
like he's in a new world. He doesn't know what's going on. Like he went to his house, his son's not there, his company's gone, no one knows him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Goblin had taken over for a moment there, but you got the weak, timid Norman there too, which I think just shows how much of a talent Willem Dafoe is, how he can go back and forth like that.
Now, this is my favorite Green Goblin outing I've personally seen. Like, obviously, I love. He's obviously great in the first Spider-Man movie. I think he does a great job. But I don't know. Like, I think he's better as a Norman than he is the Goblin. I think the Goblin's great in that movie, but we don't get a lot of Goblin doing goblin-y things until the very end. I feel like, and this movie, I think, takes what he's so good at in that first Spider-Man movie and allows him to just play in the sandbox that is Spider-Man and that is Green Goblin. And we'll be jumping around throughout this thing. It's fine.
Yeah,
But like the entire elevator sequence might be in my top 5 moments in the MCU. The slow, you get like this is probably my favorite like Spider Sense sequence maybe of all time when he just kind of
yeah,
feels he's like he knows someone in the
yeah,
room is about to do something, but he doesn't know who,
yeah,
and he's just like looking, trying to
yeah,
figure out which one of them is about to
yep.
do their heel turn.
And then he
And
closes his eyes and just lets his spider sense take over.
some neat trick that Spider Sense of your like the
Yeah,
way he does it so good.
yeah. And just is there a little bit of camp in the delivery? Sure, but it's like the perfect amount.
It's
And like, and you even get like one thing that was really refreshing for me with this. In those older movies, you never got to see villains like Green Goblin and Doc Ock interact with each other. So, learning how they feel about each other, and honestly, that scene where most of the villains were interacting after they're captured, um, like them kind of learning about each other's universes. And
Mm-hmm.
then Doc Ock's like, like you're a walking corpse. You died. And Norman's like, what? That's impossible. And then Sandman is like, well, actually, you both died. And Doc Ock's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean? It's like bits like that. That sort of banter and stuff I find really enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now, do some of the villains get a little underserved in the movie? Yes. I think particularly Sandman and Lizard are a little underserved
Yes.
because for both of them, their actors weren't able to physically be there.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to do Sandman purely through visual effects. Lizard, same thing. And the way that you're able to know that they weren't there at all, and this is something that I noticed in the theater, but the one scene where you do see both of them as a human is pulled footage from those older movies because like Thomas Hayden Church doesn't look any older in that shot than he did back in 2007. Same thing with Risa Fons as a lizard. Um, so could the movie have used? I mean, like maybe 4 or 5 more months in the oven? Sure, but I'm still so happy with what we got. But
Yeah, I think I don't like. I think for Lizard especially, it works for me because Lizard is never like the most like dialogue heavy, monologuing kind of like he kind of works as like he's just kind of like the mindless creature in this movie who's just kind of doing stuff. He's just kind of crawling around. I think it works for him. Would I have liked more of Sandman? Sure, but then I think they really focused in on Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro as kind of your main three, and I think that really works for me. I think those three working in tandem really work for me. And again, like I think Green Goblin is your main villain. Honestly, like I don't think the MCU is ever going to do their own Green Goblin. I think this might be it for me because I think that's probably how it should be because there's no one's going to beat William Defoe's Green Goblin and
I
what
don't
he
think
did in
so.
this movie,
No.
and I think I'm really satisfied. Like if we never get another Green Goblin in Tom Holland's little thing, I'm personally okay with that. Unless they do something
Yeah.
very, I guess they could do the Harry thing if they really really want to. They make it different to make it feel unique.
Even
Like
then, I don't think you would ever be able to get as personal a connection again.
no, sure.
Um,
Although I do like the idea of a Harry possibly showing up somehow with the knowledge that
yeah.
Tom Spider-Man has. Like if like even if it is the main like Green Goblin and it's him for years being like, when are you going to turn? Like when is it going to happen? And always watching and waiting for that moment to occur. I think I like that idea. I
Yeah,
think that's a
yeah.
cool concept.
Like you're just constantly paranoid on like when it's gonna flip.
Hmm.
Um,
I think there's potential there. But yeah, I think the villains are really good. Obviously, the whole apartment scene is my favorite scene in the movie. The fight scene when he's like they're like going down like the apartment
yeah,
building floor by floor. The like
yeah,
powerful enough to take
yeah.
anything you want, but what is it?
Strong
But
enough to have it all, too weak to take it.
too
Yeah,
weak to and his
yeah,
performance with it's
yeah,
great. It feels physical and you can
yeah.
see Williams' main thing was like if I come back I want to be able to do my own stunts and I want to do a
Yep.
lot of this myself and you feel that it
He
feels
was
real
he
feels
was doing.
palpable.
It was all him. Yeah, he was doing his own stunts at 66 years old. And just the scene where Holland jumps on him and tries to start punching him, he just stands there laughing it off. It's that kind of performance that I just can't get enough of. And like
Yeah.
we're all, and I don't mean to sound like a purist or an oldie or whatever, but just during that bit, whenever he's laughing off those punches, those of us that had seen that type of performance from him over and over throughout those movies and other
Mm.
ones over the last 20 years, we're just kind of laughing along with it, but also in the sense of like going through my mind, like was I laughing a little bit at that scene? Yeah, but in my mind I'm going, yeah, you're not gonna win this. Like that was my reaction. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you're just not winning this. Nothing's working for you.
I do understand. I don't want it obviously because it's too typecast, but I do understand why people want him as the Joker. I think in that scene I'm like, yeah, that's kind of just Joker. Like that is a good audition
Yeah,
for that character. Obviously, I don't too
yeah.
typecast. It's literally just Green Goblin. I don't want that, but
It
I see
it's
why
been
people do. Yeah.
it's been funny to see him in interviews, and he's like, yeah, people come up to me and they go, you know what role you'd be perfect for? The Joker. And he goes, oh, it's always nice to hear you have the vibe of a sociopath. But no, I think Willem is just awesome in these movies. And what we were bringing up a little bit before, I like how he, whenever the Norman side is at the forefront and not Goblin, I like how he's kind of admiring Peter, like admiring him for his
Mm,
technical know-how,
yes.
saying, hey, if you feel like hopping to another universe, I might have a job for you. Just like that little stuff like that. You can tell Norman is there and the Goblin part is not there yet, but you can kind of tell when the switch happens when Otto and Norman are talking, and Otto says, "Hey, like whenever they get this cure, like there won't be any more darker half." And you don't see Norman's face, but you just hear
Mm,
in the voice, he's like, "No more darker half,"
yeah,
and you
that's the
just hear
switch.
it,
Yeah,
like right there. But also
yeah,
speaking of cure, my God, one of my favorite moments in this movie is when they cure Octavius.
that's fantastic.
Like
Yeah.
I loved that moment because it's been the arms communicating with him the entire time, and when he finally gets that cure and it's just dead air, and he goes, "It's so quiet." I'm like, man,
Yeah.
having that payoff for like 14 years was just so good.
It's I think he's arguably one of the best characters in this movie. Like just
Yeah,
him as both Octopus and Otto, I think is
yeah,
fantastic. And they're two very
and
separate
yeah,
characters, and they're very it's
yeah.
very nice.
And we see later, we'll get into it later, but he does join the side of good
Yep,
ultimately. Yeah,
yep,
which I loved.
for sure.
Uh,
Um, Obviously after the huge apartment sequence, they're on the ground floor. And there
yeah,
was a lot of theories going in who would die. I know. I think at the time I said Happy. Like I thought Happy was
I
gonna die.
I kind of
Um,
predicted that the person that would die
yeah.
in this movie is ultimately who did.
I think once you're kind of getting into it and you're seeing it, it's like it becomes very clear. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
And it is a little sad because like I didn't think this version of Aunt May was at the time was easily my least favorite going into the movie. Like I thought she was pretty good in Homecoming. She was barely in Far From Home. And so I
yeah,
think it's a really interesting gamble to be like, she's going to be the emotional core of this one. And she is such a different character from the start of this movie to where we ultimately take her. Um, and so when the sequence happens, um, it does work for me. Like it's such it shouldn't work because they hadn't built up to it, but they somehow do it in a way where that emotional moment really hits. And I think
yeah.
this is one of Tom's best performances as Spider-Man in
I
this
think so
moment.
too.
Um, and when it happens, it makes so much sense. But like they give her the with great
But
power speech, which I think works in the MCU.
yeah,
I know a lot of purists didn't like it at the time. They wanted to be Uncle Ben, but I like it. I think it
I don't
works
know.
for me.
I mean, so I think it worked for a few reasons. One, they still haven't done anything to allude to Tom Holland's Uncle Ben in the MCU, minus one line in Civil War where he's
Hmm.
saying, when you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of
Yeah,
you. It's always been assumed that he's talking about Uncle Ben there.
yeah.
Um, but they don't really highlight the impact that he had on him in these movies, which maybe suggests that there wasn't as big of one as there typically is. But
They
also
also
earlier, sorry,
they also do it in Zombies, which is a tough one because it's not
yeah,
canon, but everything up until that point kind of was canon to the MCU. So
yeah,
you got to take that with a grain of salt. But they do mention Uncle Ben in there as
yeah,
well. So take that as you will.
yeah. Yeah, but they even have the moment with May earlier in the movie when Norman first enters the Feast Center, which, by the
Yeah.
way, nice reference to the games with that.
Yes.
Um, and Spider Man's there, and she's like, "Hey, well, like these guys need your help. Like, you can't just like leave them to die, leave them stranded in their own universe. Like they need your help. We should help them." And they do kind of set it up in that way, uh, leading up to it. But yeah, when that moment does happen and she has that whole speech, and Holland's breaking down, I one little detail in that scene I really loved was when Happy arrives and he sees what's happening, and he sees that the place is like surrounded by soldiers, and he sees what's happened to May, his first instinct is yelling for Peter to get out of there
Yeah.
and trying to protect him. Because, like, while he definitely had affection for May, he was trying to keep Peter safe.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that was just a moment that I really loved. And I think that's the last time you see Happy before things happen. So, just a little bit that I really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed there.
No. Yeah, that entire sequence is fantastic. The what might be one of my favorite shots in the MCU is when you jump cut to the like Jameson dialogue on the TV. Peter's in the rain, mask off. Rain is pouring down on him as the light from the TV is shining in his face, and he's just letting that moment
Yeah.
sit with him as Jameson is like lecturing him on how he's failed as a hero. Like it's so
Yeah.
good. Like I get instant goosebumps in that sequence where it's like, holy shit, like this is
Yeah.
fully just Spider-Man. Like this is like he's fully encapsulated the character in this shot.
Also made for one of the best posters.
Yes, fantastic poster, fantastic. It's at this point in the movie we start transitioning into what people think of the movie, which is the giant, crossover between all three Spider-Man franchises. One of the things I'm not a huge fan of in this movie, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I'm not a fan of the Ned Doctor Strange plotline in this movie.
Yeah. Um, I I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. If anybody's wondering if there's any sort of comic roots in that, I'll go ahead and tell you right now. No, no, there's not. Um,
It's it's just such a left field thing for me. And I get it. Like I think it's one of those things that's it's mostly done for laughs and stuff like that. It's just too. It's a little bit too much for me. Like I think so, I think they need the plot to happen, right? Like they need a way to bring these characters over in, and it's like okay, we'll have Ned somehow gets these abilities and is like bring Peter Parker here, like that stuff. I love that sequence when Andrew comes in, but I have to get through the moments when he's doing that first because to me
yeah,
it's a little cringe. It's a little like, oh, all right, whatever, it's done, and now he's here and it's great. Uh,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I do like the build up to that sequence too, where like MJ is debating on like pressing the button and letting everything
sure.
go, and like Ned's like, hey, not yet, not yet. We can't because they don't know like where Peter is right now,
Hmm.
um, and like they tried to set up the Ned thing with a line earlier in the movie where he's like, "Yeah, my grandma says like we have magic roots," and Strange is like, "Well, maybe you should go see a doctor or something." I'm
Yeah,
like I I could take it or leave it. I mean, it didn't bother me that much, but I get why some people are like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's something that I find just easier to overlook. Um, but
I
you
get it.
do get that moment where like you have a Spider-Man and clearly tell from the costume it's not Tom Holland,
Yeah,
and yeah, that liar Andrew Garfield pulls the mask off. Uh,
Mr. Werewolf himself.
yeah, this explicitly saying over and over in tons of interviews, "I'm not in the movie. I'm not in the movie. I'm not in the movie. It's Photoshop."
Yeah,
And he comes into there and he still doesn't miss a beat when it comes to this character.
he's my personal favorite live action Peter. I love his energy, and I think this is easily his best movie as Peter Parker
Oh
for
yeah.
me. With
Oh yeah.
ease, he fully just embraces that character. He does such a good job, and this I think it took this movie for people to actually like him because like
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed those amazing movies for what they were, even if I think they're flawed. But he's never the issues with those movies. I've always thought he played a fantastic Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Um, and the way that he's able to bounce off both Peter 1, 2, and 3, you know, whatever they are, whatever the order is of Peters, is fantastic. His dialogue's fantastic.
Yeah.
Jump to the end, like his moment when he saves MJ is such a
Yeah.
gorgeous moment where it's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you like, are you doing all right? It's
which you
so
can
good.
tell he is like going through the motions clearly. Um, and even just like the little bits that show you what his comedic chops are as Spider-Man. You know, like whenever MJ throws the damn roll at him, he's like, "Yeah, my tingle thing works fine, just not for bread." It's like little bits like that. It's like, is some of Spider-Man's humor stupid? Yes, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Um,
No, he does a
and
great job with the material given.
yeah,
Um,
um, and there was that little line where Ned's like, I opened the wrong portal to the wrong Peter Parker, and MJ's like, well, I guess we just got to keep trying till we find the real one. And then you hear Andrew go, ouch. Just that little bit was really nice. But
yeah,
then uh, the moment they got arguably the biggest cheer in my theater, um,
I get it. Yeah,
a lot of that was probably coming from me. Yeah, the original of the three Spider-Men come
hmm
in. The guy
no
right here
suit,
on this shirt.
no suit, just comes in like a young,
Yeah,
fun youth pastor. Which
yeah.
yeah,
And
I think worked.
yeah, and they played a version of the score from those movies too, which I
Hmm.
loved, and just how simple it was with the dialogue where he goes, "Oh, I hope it's fine. I just came through this. Oh, it's shut now." It's like that's the nature, the timid nature of his Peter that I've always really, really liked. Um, and pretty quickly, you know, you find that he's there because he already knows Tom Holland's there, and he's trying to find him. He's trying to help him because he thinks that he says, "I've been trying to find your friend since I got here." Then Andrew enters and says, and then Toby's like, "Well, that's not your friend." And they have that like little confrontation where they like shoot the webs at each other, which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
And they save a moment later, but because they go right at the web shooter, Andrew's like, "Oh, I respect that move," not recognizing that Toby's not actually wearing a web shooter at all,
yeah,
letting that moment pay off for the laugh later. Um, but no, I mean, it was surreal for me seeing him on that screen again because I hadn't in 14 years before
yeah.
then,
I get it.
and I was having to explain to some younger people afterward that were like, "Why was everybody freaking out so much?" I said, "Hey, so like pick your favorite movie character," and then I said, "Imagine you didn't see them in that part for 14 years, and then they were back, and you got a little bit more time with them." And I mean, it was more than I ever thought we would get at that point because
Yeah,
I'd already kind of accepted that reality. It's like, hey, we're not getting that fourth movie. We're not gonna get any more thing there. So this was just kind of a massive treat for I think all Spider-Man fans that I wish would have stopped the bickering between them, and for a time it did, but unfortunately, no.
yeah, and I think and I've talked about this previously, but I think this. I wish this movie stopped the there can only be one version of these characters argument, because what makes
Yeah,
this movie special um, is the so much of the discourse is like, well, I like this thing from this character, and this one doesn't do this thing, and this one doesn't do this thing, but the movie works so specially because they are all so different. Each
and they
Spider-Man has a
complement each
different
other.
tone. Yeah, and the way that they can all work as three separate characters alongside each
Yeah,
other and in unison because they are so different is so cool. And so it's so
yeah,
weird to me when it's like, all right, we're getting a new Batman, and all these people are like, no, that's not my Batman. It's like, yeah, that's fine. We're getting
yeah,
something. It's so exhausting. Um, and
yeah,
yeah, I think this movie's strength is
yeah,
these three actors playing off each other. To
yeah,
jump a little further, like the scene when they're on the bridge and they're getting ready for the big battle, there's like that 8-minute scene where it's just characters
yeah,
just talking. They're
yeah.
just doing stuff. They're like,
Yep.
oh, like I fought this villain, you fought this villain, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like can you crack my
And
back because it hurts? Like, it's. I would have
yeah.
watched the whole movie of just that.
Yeah, and like not only are those character moments with them, whether you're talking about on the construction site or in the school, or on top of the school, rather,
Yeah,
no matter where your setting is, not only is each scene filled with a lot of references for those other two Spider-Men, but you get to see how their Peters are against each other. You get to see, how kind of goofy but kind-hearted Toby's was, how kind of cool but awkward the Andrew Garfield version was, and how they play off of each other.
Mhm.
I also love one of my favorite shots in the movie that leads into one of my favorite scenes is when you see Tom on the roof of the high school, and he's just broken because of what's happened to him. He's not able to say a word at all, and you have Ned and MJ there hugging him, and then you go up to that shot where you see Toby and Andrew there in the moonlight. It's fucking beautiful, and they get that whole sequence where they're like, "Hey, I'm sorry about May," and they try to say that like I've got some experience of what you're going through, and someone who's just gone through a big loss like that in the moment
Yeah.
does not want anyone to try to level with
No.
them. It's like the worst thing you can do. But in reality, they do know, but they're like, okay, we won't. Like, it's like they know what that's like, and they won't try to level it with him. And like, unless you have a really, really good frame of reference for what an individual's going through, um, it's that's just not the thing to do because that's the human nature is to compare experiences.
Mm. Yeah.
But Toby did say, hey, like my uncle Ben was killed. It was my fault. I let this person get away. Andrew says, I lost Gwen. She was
Yeah.
my MJ. I'm not going to be able to forgive myself for saving her. And you got a little bit of context into what happened to his Spider-Man after that. One of my favorite
Mhm.
lines where he's like, at a certain point, I stopped pulling my punches. I got bitter. I got rageful. Kind of makes you wish that you saw a movie with that fallout.
Yeah.
Which I think that would have been the perfect time to introduce a symbiote into his world, but different
That.
story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm curious because I'm not going to say it's completely out of the question to someday see something from Andrew or even Toby again. I think it's possible. I think
yeah,
these dudes love money, so
yeah,
I see a world where that happens. But I would be fascinated, especially I think Andrew has the most to tell because of like, okay, do we jump right where it ends, or do we do post No Way Home or potentially post Secret Wars, right?
yeah.
Um,
And like on the Toby side of things, there's been that desire of hey, like let's like since he's the oldest Spider-Man out of the bunch, let's show him and Mary Jane acting as
mhm,
parents to like a Mayday. And I would love to see that if you were to do like a Logan style movie for his Peter or something. I'd be here all day for that.
yeah,
Um,
agreed. That'd be awesome.
yeah, and I love too that little moment where you can see Tom Holland where it's kind of these two moments that mix together where he's talking about what May's last words to him were, and he goes like with great power, and they all complete it comes great responsibility because they all know it's like little moments like that. And little detail I loved is when he's listing off the villains to cure, he's like Connors, Dylan, Marco, and then he stops because he doesn't want to
Mhm.
cure Osborn because he said minutes earlier he wants to kill Osborn. He doesn't want to cure him. And I love how you can see him pause. He's like, I don't want to say that name because we're not going to cure him. And
Mm.
even Toby says, like I've been thinking a long time of would I have been able to cure him? Like would that have been able to be different? And now these guys kind of all get that chance at redemption.
Yeah, I'm curious. What does that mean for the timeline when they go back? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that was one of everybody's biggest questions leaving the movie.
yeah, like if we get a new Toby movie, is like Norman and Oz like are they all just alive in the current day and they're just in prison or something like that? Like that'd be kind of a
Yeah,
crazy approach to go to things if that's how they wanted to do it.
yeah.
I don't know if they would,
Mhm.
but
Which if if Norman is still alive, does that mean Harry's still alive?
changes everything. It's like a reboot. Like you could just it's everything's different.
I don't know.
Um,
On one hand, I have the like purist mentality where I'm like, no, leave it alone. Don't do anything to it,
mhm.
please. But then there's that ticking thing. You're like, what if?
Yeah, be very fascinating. But yeah, skip to the final battle, third act. Insane final battle. You have all three Spider-Men going against all five of the villains. I love that they switch back and forth between the villains, so you have the moments that you want, but also it's like, hey, so what is it like if this villain is fighting this character and this like they get to switch
Yeah,
it? That's
yeah,
fantastic. You have the Avengers line. I think it's like hilarious. Or it's like I was on
yeah.
the Avengers. That's great. What's
What is
that?
I I thought during that sequence that Toby was about to acknowledge that the Avengers existed in his universe by him saying that's great. So I got excited for like a split second and then was just laughing because of the delivery.
Mm,
But I also
we know
love. Sorry.
Doctor Strange is
Yeah,
canon in his
we know
universe.
we know that one is there.
Yeah,
Which is funny that that's the other hero Toby interacts with in the movie
yeah.
too. Um, but no, I like you said, we do get a lot of the moments between the villains and their respective Spider-Men, um, and of course that moment where like they're all swinging together and you get that score where all of them land on the statue one after the other. Really cool. And like I love how they end in chronological order. So you have Toby, then Andrew, then Tom. Great
Yeah.
stuff. And then that shot where they're all jumping at them. You see the actual shot versus what the Brazilian market did for that
Mm.
trailer because they CGI'd the other Spider-Man out of it. Yet if you look at Lizard, he gets kicked by invisible air. So that was kind of the giveaway that hey, something's there.
Hmm. But yeah, they have this huge battle. We do the like Statue of Liberty, Spider-Man versus Goblin moment, which is
Yeah,
also I think a
yeah.
fantastic moment. Them
Oh yeah,
crawling near the
oh yeah,
water, Toby having to stop them, all these things.
yeah. And little detail too that I liked that
Mm,
just kind of ties the universe together. In the episode of Hawkeye that aired like right around that time, there was like a line where they're like, "Hey, you should check out the new Statue of Liberty." I'm like, tying everything together. I like
I
I like that part.
I think I talked about it in my Hawkeye episode, but yeah, like Hawkeye was airing alongside this, so you have the fists happen, the fist moment happen. I think a couple of days before this movie came out,
Yeah,
and then the movie comes out. You have the Matt Murdock cameo. I do remember people being convinced Spider-Man was going to show up in Hawkeye, the Hawkeye finale, which was never going to happen. Like
no,
we're like, guys, they're not allowed to do this, but like, no, he's going to show up. He's going to help Hawkeye and then
I
leave.
can't.
No, obviously not. But it's very funny
Yeah,
how they line things up very well in the way where they're both in New York, both around Christmas, coming out at the same time. It made for some
yeah.
nice continuity, at least a little bit.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but then obviously leads to the kind of penultimate moments in the movie where they have to undo the spell. Peter comes
yeah,
up with the idea: what if everyone forgot about Spider-Man? What if no one knew who I was? Going back into the with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
yeah,
Fully embracing that this isn't what I want. This is a sacrifice I have to make. But
yeah.
if it's to save the multiverse, I'm willing to do it because that's what I'm here to do. Which was rumored. Like I know some people had theorized that's how the movie would end or something along those lines. Um, I love it a lot. I like that
Oh
ending
yeah,
a lot. I love the moments where he goes and he has the paper and he's going to be like, hey, like I'm me and I'm this, but he sees the bruises on their face and he sees what knowing them did to their lives and how it almost not only hurt them but also kept them from their dream colleges and kept them all from all these all these opportunities. And for their sake he decides to not tell them the secret, which obviously will lead into a brand new day, which we will be seeing in about a month here, give or take.
which is
um,
pretty crazy.
Pretty
Um,
crazy. And then
um,
ending on that fantastic final swing with that
oh yeah,
gorgeous looking suit, fantastic
yeah.
looking suit.
Loving that a
um,
lot too. And I guess before we get to like the one little bit toward the end of this movie, I would just say I think this movie is just a treat for Spider-Man fans, comic book fans, superhero fans, altogether.
Agreed.
Are there like little things you could pick apart? Sure,
Agreed.
but
It's fun.
I mean, like this movie was bringing things out of me that like not even Avengers Endgame did. So I have to give credit where credit's due there.
Yeah, I think like this is the event movie, and like these event movies, if they're Avengers Endgame or if they're whatever they are, they will always have flaws in the way that they have to be made, stuff like that. And do I want every MC movie to be made like this? No, because then it loses its specialness. But
Yeah,
movies like this, I'm just so happy that they exist, and I can
yeah,
go back and watch the
yeah,
moment where they all three met for the
yeah,
first time. It's so
yeah.
special.
And it's on a
Um,
personal like note too. Like at the end of this year, I think was a good time for this movie to happen
mhm,
because at the start or at the end of 2020 going into 2021, I had three back-to-back family deaths that really put me into a dark spot. And seeing that movie toward the end of the year, again, really resonated with me. And the next movie we're going to talk about actually have like some personal family ties to it also.
mhm.
But um, again, I think it just has to do with the timing in which you see some of these things and
Yeah,
the moments they enter your life when they do. But then you get the moment during the credits that kind of piss some people off.
yeah. That might be the most useless post-credit scene of all time. Like, it doesn't need. Part of me kind of wishes that they would just get rid of it because it doesn't. None of it makes sense anymore, right? Obviously, Tom Hardy's Venom showing up in a bar, which I think is funny. Like, he like that's kind of what the ending of Venom 2 is him like seeing
Yeah,
it on the TV and being like, "Oh, this is crazy. We got to go find him." Um and then he just kind of goes back, but has a little Venom piece behind, which I think is cool. I think the idea is cool. But they undo it in Venom 3 anyway. Like
yeah,
they go and take it away. So I'm like, what was the point of literally any of this? What?
yeah. Um, but then, like after that, which was funny, a guy behind me in our theater, when Tom Hardy's getting pulled back, a guy yells. He goes, "We've been bamboozled!" And then they zoom in on that piece of the symbiote, and then you hear from that one same individual, "Oh fuck!" It's like this
Yeah.
the gut reaction that people have in those moments. And then following that at the very end, you get a full on trailer for the next movie we're talking about.
Yeah, which I know was pretty controversial at the time. Like, it's literally just an ad. I don't hate it though. Like, I think especially if
No,
there's
I
only
was fine.
one post credit scene. Like, I don't mind. I don't mind
I
it.
mean,
I
they
don't hate it.
basically did that for the Avengers back in the day, like when Captain America was first in theaters. They had a they had an Avengers trailer at the end of that movie. So
Yeah, I don't hate it. Um, and then yeah, let's go into our second movie before we completely run out of time here today, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2022. This came out. When this come out? Was it spring?
May,
Was it like May? Okay, so
yeah,
about 6 months, 5 6 months later. Um, I definitely appreciate Phase 4 gets flack for its lack of like continuity leading into stories, but I'll say like early Phase 4 did it well. Like you had the like Black Widow movie, which like directly led into the Hawkeye show, which led into that, and you have Spider-Man, which led pretty closely into you know Multiverse of Madness, but leads into each other. Like early Phase 4 did a good job at like connecting these storylines.
yeah.
Um, I just rewatched it before jumping on here today, and I'll say just off the bat before I get into it, I enjoyed it a lot more this time than I
Hmm.
had the first time. Do I have my flaws? Sure,
I mean, we all
but
do. Kidding.
but um, I only saw this movie once. I saw it once in cinemas, and this is 2022, so there wasn't really a lot of like seeing movies twice in cinemas for me yet. I feel like it was still kind of taboo, still a little bit to go to cinemas and stuff. So it was like go when you can, and then don't see it again, sort of thing. Um, I mean, what's your thoughts? I mean, obviously Doctor Strange is one of your favorite Marvel characters of all time. I know you love
True.
1 and 2. This is a movie that means a lot to you. What's your thoughts on Multiverse of Madness?
So going into the movie when I had first heard Scott Derrickson was stepping away from the second film, I was originally a little put off because I really enjoyed the first one. But when I found out Sam Raimi was being the one that would take it over, I was ecstatic, as you can imagine. Because not only had he said he had wanted to do a Doctor Strange film for a long time, he
Mm-hmm.
now had the credit to say, hey, I've done 3 Spider-Man movies that were all financial successes. And I think just this movie has, I think, a lot more going for it than people want to give credit for. Um, I think because of things that happen in the marketing, where and you know, I I think the marketing, especially along with just the general internet buildup, is what led people to be disappointed. Like I
Mm,
saw so many people saying that the marketing was misleading because you hear Patrick Stewart's voice in one of the trailers, and according to the internet, that seemed to indicate that there was going to be a lot of cameos, and I would simply disagree with that. That you hear the voice of Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier, sure, but they really didn't tease a lot of cameos
hmm
within the trailers themselves. They teased there was going to be a little bit, and there ultimately was, and they held a little bit back,
Yeah.
but I do still think it worked for the movie because the movie is not obviously all about the multiverse. The multiverse plays a key part of it, but Doctor Strange is the focus of the movie, and I think it
hmm
tells a really kind of ballsy story following Infinity War and Endgame, where they say and they kind of introduce it right in the movie when you have that alternate Strange and he's running away from that monster with America Chavez, and I also love that this movie just gets right to the point when you start. They say, "Hey, that monster's chasing them. They think this book will save the day." It simply gets and it simply establishes the goal. Um,
Yeah.
and then Strange, in his arrogance, he goes like, "Hey, if I suck her powers out, if I take her power, this thing, like this thing's gonna kill her. She can't control her abilities. If I take her power, I can control it. I, Doctor Strange, know better. He thinks that he can control everything and that he knows best.
Mm,
And that's essentially setting up the theme of the movie right there, is that he doesn't realize how out of control he is, how dangerous he is, and they follow that up with the conversation that he just has when you're at the opening with the wedding, where you have that guy say, "Hey, was there any other way for all this to happen?" And we kind of just took Strange's word in Infinity War and Endgame that yeah, he saw that one outcome and that one outcome was it. And as an audience, we believed him. We're like, yeah, of course he's right. It's Strange. He's right. What if it's wrong? What if there was
mm,
another way? And what if
yeah.
this is his arrogance kind of coming back? And it's that whole thing of being in control. And they throw it out there between him and Christine because you have it twice in the movie to the audience, and then now twice to Strange himself, where Christine goes, "I've always respected the fact that you have to hold the knife, but I couldn't love you for it." So,
Mm.
in your opening minutes, that's the central theme.
Well, I think it's really interesting too is that they've done a good job at showing how easily it is for Strange to be corrupted by his own selfishness. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of the plot of the first movie is him being a little bit too big for his britches and him really struggling to humble himself. And then I think that's doubled down by What If, which obviously like What If has its issues, but you literally see a reality when he takes in so much power. He turns into this absolute monster. And then they do it again at the beginning of the movie, and they do it again towards the end of the movie, where we see another obviously, this is one we'll probably jump around as well, and that's fine. But like we see um a version that also takes in too much power to get what he wants, and so the whole movie, it's like everyone doubting him, even the like Illuminati people being like, "I don't trust you. You're so easy to be corrupted, and you are the most dangerous person in this room." And they're not wrong. And I think the whole movie is him on the edge of almost going too far, and him like on the reel of the edge of like, if you just go a little further, you're too far gone. And how does he balance that act? I think is
yeah.
very fascinating for
So,
sure.
yeah, I think that's one of the key things in this movie that often just gets overlooked because of people's things that they were generally just disappointed by. Um, and I'll admit, when I first watched this movie, and like we're at that wedding sequence, and then it opens up into another action sequence where they're fighting essentially Shumagaroth, but for licensing issues, they can't call it Shumagaroth, which
Yeah.
was fine. There's also another Sam Raimi movie Easter egg there where they split the car in half. That car, the Delta 88, is featured in a lot of
Mm,
Sam Raimi films. Of course, it's the film Ben Parker drives in the
okay.
Spider-Man films. It's also featured in his newest film, Send Help, but to get off the tangent.
I love that opening sequence. That opening
Yeah.
sequence. This movie's weird. Like I think in his visuals because visuals. Sorry. sometimes it looks incredible. Sometimes like this movie looks gorgeous. There are other sequences though where I'm like, that could have used a little bit more polishing up. But I think when this movie looks good, it looks really good. The big like tentacle monster
Yeah.
going around. It looks real. Like every like tentacle on its body, it looks like it can reach out and touch it. Like the eye visuals look really really cool. And I'm a big sucker for when like a superhero movie starts with like a big action sequence to set off the movie. It's my, I love it in like Incredibles 2 or like Captain America Civil War, and this does it well. And he like jumps off the ceiling, like he like jumps off the like cylinder and he goes into his costume. I'm like, oh, let's fucking go.
Love that awesome stuff. And the way the audience reacts, they're like, oh my god, we get to watch an Avenger, things like that. And watching the movie the first time, I admit, I'm like, okay, we're like 15 minutes into what's been marketed as a Sam Raimi Doctor Strange horror film, and at first I'm like, is this a little tame for Raimi? And it's kind of generic battle until you get to the very end of that fight where he takes a big pole out of the ground and shoves it into the creature's eye and pops the eye out, which if you're a Sam Raimi fan, if you're an Evil Dead 2 fan, he has a thing about eyes popping out in his movies. This is not the first eye that he's popped out. In fact, a trailer that Darren just recently saw had that same thing in it. As soon as that happened, immediately I went, all right, there it is. We're in now.
I would say this movie rides the edge of PG-13. Like there are sequences I was like, are we still in PG-13? This is riding the edge of what they can do, especially at the time. Like I know we got like Deadpool and Wolverine since then. Obviously, Daredevil Born Again has pushed that level way beyond what this movie does. But there are sequences where I'm like, oh, this is different from Marvel. Like this is them testing the waters of what they can get away with. We'll see. I guess with Blade, if that ever comes out, because that's supposed to be rated R.
We'll see.
But
I was happy that we got Evil Dead Sam Raimi and not Spider-Man Sam Raimi. As much as I love those Spider-Man movies, we got the campy horror weird side of his directing that he really kind of rose to fame with.
And I'll say, like this feels like, because like most MCU movies don't feel like they're directed by the directors they're assigned. Like these movies are so guttered with. There's so much of you have to do this and this, and I think this movie also has this. Like I'm not going to say it doesn't have it. There are sequences especially in the second act. I think the second act especially, you can tell, in my opinion, kind of shifts to a slightly different. I think it finds its way back, but I will say you can see the Sam Raimi in this movie, and this feels like some of the best directing style in an MCU movie. Like this, like there's sequences in this movie that doesn't feel like this, like the Russo brothers and like what a lot of these movies had been over these last couple of years. Like I had a style in its direction and in its camera work and its editing sequences that I felt very refreshing for the MCU. That was like, oh, this feels fresh. And I don't think people were ready for that. Like there are choices in here that I know a lot of people don't like because it's like, oh, this is too out there. The like editing choice of having the like screen turn into a bubble and then come out as like the bubble later on in the movie. I know people hate that sequence. I kind of think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. And what we were talking about too with kind of this movie connecting to No Way Home, you get a little bit afterward where they're like, hey, like we had an incident with Spider-Man over at the Statue of Liberty a while ago, which of course they don't know it's Peter now. And like just that little bit of a connection there. Again, just that connective thread that ties the thing together, and they bring in that whole dead Strange body, and then they bury it. And immediately watching it, I went, all right, how's that going to tie back in? They're setting up something there. How's that going to tie back in? And you see how it eventually does, but again, really good setup for what happens later.
Agreed. Like, I think this movie has so many of these individual sequences that are some of the best action set pieces in the movie. And again, we're all over the place. That's fine. We'll find our way to a through line eventually. But like, again, like when he does the body walking through the like zombie Doctor Strange, I remember in the trailer, I was like, oh, we're like bringing in the Marvel Zombies episode of What If, and we're going to get all these things. No. And I'm glad we didn't, because what we got is so much cooler when he is like controlling the like demon creatures to fight Wanda in
Yeah.
the oh my it looked
So
insane.
cool.
It
So
looked
cool.
so cool when he's fighting the alternate Doctor Strange and they're using the like music notes to fight.
That was awesome. Okay.
People hate that. People hate
That
it because I'm
I
like,
loved it.
how?
I
That's so
loved it.
sick. That's so awesome. How can we hate this? Crazy.
Oh, I loved it.
Craziness, people.
Yeah, me and my old man went and saw this movie by ourselves, and I
Mm.
think we were in both the right and wrong theater because we were like the only two in there that were appreciating a lot of the different things that this movie had at the time, while a lot of people in the rows in front of us were just bitching and complaining. And not gonna lie, we felt a little, we felt kind of gratified.
Yeah, no, like there is those individual sequences that really work for me, and I think they,
Yeah,
I think most of the individual fight sequences are incredible.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about one of the most controversial things in the movie. Obviously, this movie comes off of WandaVision, which sets up the Wanda Vision dilemma. We end that show with her getting the Dark Hole,
Yeah.
which was very exciting for another fandom that I am in, which is the Agents of Shield fandom. For those of you who watch Agents of Shield, Darkhold is a massive part of Agents of Shield, part of the best season of Agents of Shield. So I was very excited going into this movie, and it's weird because obviously, like, we were hoping for a little reference to something, like something that to tell us it was connected. But I will say, I think it kind of works a little bit better if you know the power the Darkhold has, because I don't know if the movie itself does a really good job at showing, like, obviously like they show the power, but I feel like it doesn't tell the audience how powerful it is and what it does to the mind. And I think if you've seen Agents of Shield, you know what it can do. Like you know the full context of what this book is capable of. And so I know many people's issues is that the turn goes so quickly for Wanda and her journey. She turns bad instantly. But I think if you know a little bit more about the Darkhold, it's not really Wanda making these decisions. It is this heightened version of her being manipulated by this magical source that, you know what I mean? Like and I think if more people knew that, I think they would have an easier time accepting the switch with Wanda.
So I'll play devil's advocate to that a little bit.
Okay.
So again, I like what the Darkhold did in this movie, and like dark magic and tomes like that are often used as like allegories and metaphors for addiction and substance abuse, things like that. Which I think this movie does really well. Like of course there's that season of Buffy where Willow goes down the route of learning dark magic and gets corrupted by it. And I kind of thought about that a little bit as I was watching the movie. But to your point of people saying Wanda's turn to evil was a bit too quick, I got to be honest, I think too many people were just giving her the benefit of the doubt because she was introduced in the MCU as a villain alongside her brother in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And she's never been someone that's vindictively evil, but she's also been someone that's never been able to fully own and accept how dangerous she is.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's something that you really want, which in this movie is for her to be reunited with her kids that aren't really her kids, but you have those substances that come into your life that cloud your judgment, that make you do things you wouldn't ordinarily do, and they give you that tunnel visioned myopic delusion of you just not seeing things clearly. And it gets to the point where it completely corrupts your morality and who you are, so much so to the point where she's saying that like whenever she's like, this is me being reasonable, like you're letting all these people die to stop me from being with my kids, why are you doing this? I could send you to a world where you could be with Christine. It's that stuff that just completely throws away any sort of logic in a person's mind at that point. And for me personally, I think WandaVision set the stage for it just fine because they end it with her opening that book. I didn't need 5 episodes or 5 hours worth of content to figure out how she got from here to here. I didn't personally need that, so I thought it was a fine shift. In that little moment too, when you physically do see things change, For a moment, I thought we had gotten a continuity error, and I was about to get upset. My first time watching the movie, because she's like, "Hey, like you could bring America here," and in the theater, I'm like, "Wait, they never said her name." And then literally a minute later, Wanda goes, "Oh, you didn't tell me your name, did you?" And I'm like, "Oh, all right, all right,
It was, and they kept that all out of marketing completely, which I do
yeah,
commend them for,
yeah,
because like we thought it was a team up movie. We thought that like they were working together to save, America and like all this stuff. I'm like, okay, this is great. And so when the switch happened in the cinema, it was like, oh,
yeah."
we're doing this. She is the villain of the movie. And
I'm really glad.
I do agree with you that like I do think people forget that like yeah, she is a villain in Age of Ultron, and she's a villain in WandaVision. She's
Yeah,
she's our protagonist, and we're watching it through her eyes, but she does kidnap an entire city worth of people and keeps them, whatever. And so yeah, like I just think the like transition works better if you know more about the book is kind of all I was getting at,
yeah,
because like I know like people really love Wanda as a character, and like I also understand if you're disappointed at the turn, because I get it. Like that's a character people fell in love with. I get it completely. Um, but I do think it kind of works with the story, this tragedy story that they were trying to tell
yeah,
with Wanda,
yeah.
someone that just cannot help but leech on to
Boy.
that side of the darkness and that side of the magic. And
Well,
she's
that,
great.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, she's a terrifying villain. She's
Oh,
arguably the most
absolutely.
scary villain the MCU has ever done.
Oh yeah.
Terrifying.
Um, and Elizabeth Olsen gives one of, if not her best fucking performances, which we'll get into that. But
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of like that they took the dark hold in this movie. And for anybody who's familiar with the Evil Dead movies, it's not Book of the Dead, which is the Necronomicon in those movies. They call this one the Book of the Damned, which is kind of like its cousin, essentially. It's like just as terrifying, if you will, but it's that same nature where an evil book corrupts you. So again, taken right out of Sam Raimi's previous work, um,
Hmm.
and you know you, she does kind of call out Strange for his hypocrisy a little bit. She's like, like you break the rules and you're a hero, I do it and I'm the villain. How is that fair? And there's
Yeah,
conversations to be had there.
there
Um,
is.
yeah, I like that dynamic of it a lot. Even talking about how saying like that Vision had his theories about the multiverse makes me wonder what some of that would have looked like. Because we knew like around that point we knew pretty much nothing about multiverse within the MCU at all. Um, and then pretty sure after that it gets to the whole Comertage sequence where she goes and attacks with some terrifying scenes, by the way. Like she's just there, and like all this for a child you met yesterday. And I see so many people respond to that scene in TikToks whenever it's uploaded, and people are like, "Oh, this for children you never even had." It's like, yeah, I get that part, but
Yeah.
she's saying that like this is me being reasonable. Bring her over to me now, and then she just goes over and appears next to that one Comertage wizard. Whew, because they haven't really shown you how powerful and dangerous she can be
Hmm.
since Age of Ultron. I mean, they went about it in the indirect way with WandaVision, with her, taking over that whole city.
Yeah.
And but as far as her actual powers and how dangerous she can be as a combatant, I think the last time they really showed that was when she was holding off Thanos while simultaneously destroying a
Yeah.
stone.
A
That was
little bit
really
in
it.
Endgame as well, but yeah, not too crazy much. And yeah, I think they do. I do love that sequence of her just destroying anybody she goes against,
Yep.
and they don't really beat Wanda in this movie. Like there was no beating Wanda. Like she would have beat Strange, and she would have beat
Yeah.
America, and like she probably would beat any Avenger that she would go against. It was literally having to convince her, hey, stop it. Like you like get a hold of yourself, woman. And I think it's done in a way that feels natural. Like we saw this kind of stuff in like the Flash a lot, where it would be like, oh, just like talking her out of it, like, hey, don't do this, you're better than this. And it wasn't that. Like it was literally
Yeah.
forcing her to watch her
Yeah.
own madness on display
Yeah. It
and
took the entire
snap
movie
out of
for it to
it.
happen.
yeah, it feels natural to me. It doesn't feel forced.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah,
satisfying when it
yeah.
happens.
Because that
Um,
was their way of beating her. They gave her exactly what she wanted, and then she realized, oh, yeah,
yep,
it's kind of that switch that flips. Um,
yeah,
but then you get into one of people's one of the other biggest complaints people had with this movie too is like after the whole sequence where she's attacking Kamertage, which by the way, a small thing to add to that, the whole bit where she's coming through the mirrors, I thought was really fucking cool.
it's really cool. Yeah,
Like that was pretty awesome. And then they are going through a universe, and this is where you get the start of your multiverse of madness, if you will. And it's like a minute long sequence, I think, where they're going through these different worlds, like underwater world,
yeah, I get a
uh,
lot.
paint
Paint.
world, face splitting apart world. It's like this is how wacky Sam Raimi is with his visionaries, and you can really tell.
I think
Um,
it's one of the best displays of the multiverse in the MCU up until this point because the MCU as a whole has used it as this kind of multiverse cameo fest that I think sometimes cool. Obviously, like we just gleamed on how excited we were to see Andrew and Tom pop in here and do their thing, but I think the multiverse as a concept is so much more than just cameos and things popping up. You know, people were obviously so mad there wasn't as many cameos. I wanted less cameos. I think the movie would have been better if we cut back on some of the cameos we got and just let
I
it
was,
be
yeah,
the story about grief. And I don't know how you feel about it, and obviously you can rebuttal any of this. My least favorite stuff in the movie is the second act of the movie. Is when we start doing a lot of the Illuminati cameos, characters popping in here. Is it all
well,
bad? No. There are some cool moments in there, but it kind of feels like the movie pauses a little bit in intermission to be like, guys, it's time for the cameo segment. Here's Professor X, and here's Black Bolt, and here's Captain Carter. And I don't think it's
well,
bad in theory. I think it's more so execution. You can tell there was a lot of like, green screen flying this person in and then putting this person in, and very like studio has to be done this way. Um, Again, not all bad. There's some cool moments in there. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that segment of the movie, I'd say.
okay. Well, I mean, I'll cover like a chunk of the second act in the rebuttal
Mhm.
because there was a good bit that happened before that
Okay.
that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we first get into that world and they introduce, that whole, hey, like what weird, wacky, part are we in right now of this universe? Oh, you go on red and stop on green. I'm like, could it have been a little more wacky than that? Sure. But they're going through there. You get, we were talking about cameos. You get one of my favorite cameos in the movie where fucking Bruce Campbell shows up and he's like America Chavez is like, oh, like in most universes you don't have to pay for food, and he shows up and he's really mad they didn't pay. And if you don't know the works of Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, that scene probably plays out as very random. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, he made him punch his face. That's funny. Again, say the line, Bart. But if you're a Raimi fan, if you're an Evil Dead 2 fan, that joke has a lot more weight to it
Yeah.
because the main character in the main Evil Dead movies, Ash Williams, played by Bruce. A key point in Evil Dead 2 is that his hand gets possessed by dark magic and starts attacking him. And I don't want to spoil where the movie goes, but what ends up happening to his hand is one of the most iconic things about the Evil Dead franchise. Um, and of course, Strange being that source of magic that makes him attack himself, I thought was just a really funny meta joke to those older works. Whereas if you're not familiar with any of that, you would probably go, "Oh, Strange made him punch himself. That's kind of funny." There's a lot
Yeah.
more. There's a lot more layers to that joke. Um,
Yeah. From my like I dislike that stuff in the movie, but again, that's because I'm out of the loop
fair.
of it.
And you get two moments here, kind of back to back, that I can get people's criticism. They don't ruin the movie for me though. The first of which is that whenever they're going through the city and they have the like exposition backstory machine that you can just walk into, and it's like, hey, like what are like this person's deepest, most personal memories or like their biggest regrets, and you see, the moment between Strange and Christine, and why that watch that he has means so much to him because she means so much to him, and then you contrast that with our other character in that exposition, and it's like, oh, here's a scene where two parents die. It's like just kind of displayed that openly in the middle of the street for everybody to see. Could that have been handled better? Yeah, maybe. Um, and then you get this movie's version of Mordo, where I you have him where he's teased as the villain of the second movie, and while he technically is used as a villain in this movie, in that regard, it's obviously very different because
Yeah.
they have that dialogue where Strange is like, "Oh, he's been trying to kill me for all this time," and in my mind, I'm going, "Well,
I
right,
never saw that.
y-
Yeah.
like, don't we need to see that at some point?"
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that either. I wish we could have. I don't know. I don't
I have
know.
a,
I feel like
I have a theory we might see him again in a third.
I do too, but like I feel like you don't need to add that line in there. Like I think the movie still works probably maybe even better if he doesn't think he's a villain. Like if he's coming in here and being like, "Oh, my brother and like my friend." So when that team moment happens, it feels more impactful. Like, wait,
Yeah,
wait, wait, why is this happening? And then you can go into 3 and maybe there's a little bit of like weariness when he sees him again on his earth, knowing what he's capable of, knowing what he
yeah,
can do.
maybe.
Like maybe that could have. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with 3. If we ever are going to see a third Doctor Strange movie, I guess we'll talk about that at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
But
Um,
yeah,
but as far as the rest of the council of cameos, as I called it for a while, uh, I personally didn't mind. Could you tell that it was hyper edited together with everybody's green screen? Yes. Um, but throughout the selection that they had, like you said, Captain Carter, Black Bolt, which that was a pretty big day for Anson Mount because the Star Trek show that he's in, Strange New World, that he's the lead of, premiered like right around then. So it was a pretty big time for him because, of
that was the
course, he was.
biggest cameo.
Yeah,
That I think that was the most exciting cameo for me. Not even like exciting, but more so just like, oh, so we can bring in our TV people. You're just
yeah.
choosing not to.
Well, I mean,
um,
in fairness, a lot of people probably watching that movie didn't even remember that the Inhuman show
no,
existed.
no,
So,
no. It
um,
was it was such a
and
crazy moment. And again, I don't
yeah,
hate that they're here. I don't hate the characters are here. I think it's a
yeah,
cool
well,
idea. I don't like how it's
yeah,
executed. To me, it feels very slow.
fair. I
I
mean,
don't like their death scenes at all either. It feels very like, all right, time for them to all die, and they all go one by one. Um, I
well,
stand by Xavier though. I do not think they should have brought back Xavier in this movie just to kill for what
it's,
5 minutes just to kill him. For them to bring him back again, and like I think his return in Doomsday would feel a lot more impactful if he wasn't in this movie. I'd say.
I hear you. I mean, so I didn't mind the stuff that they had him in this movie with either. I mean, I know I'll go on that more in a second, but on the other side of
Mhm.
that table, you've got Mariah Rambeau's Captain Marvel, which I thought was
Yes,
pretty cool. Um, and then at the time, the most fan casted person ever for Reed Richards showing up for one scene, which did make me chuckle a little bit. I'll admit. But when you get Xavier's entrance there, like we knew he was in there. That wasn't the surprise. The
yeah,
double whammy that I didn't know was going to be in the movie was when he enters
the
and you
theme.
hear this theme start playing, and he's in the yellow hover chair.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know either one of those would happen, so I was geeking out pretty good over
The
that.
chair was cool. It was very
Yeah,
cool to see him in that very comic book chair, and the
yeah.
theme was cool. I definitely hope they get their own theme eventually. Um, like I'm fine with it for now because it obviously is supposed to be like they want
Yeah.
us to know what it is. Same with like the Miss
Well,
Marvel sequence.
yeah. Well,
Um,
at this time we were still 2 years out from X-Men '97, so
sure, yeah,
it was still not as mainstream as it's gotten in the last year and a half.
yeah. I definitely like again. I'm fine with it here, and I'm also pretty fine if they want to do it in Doomsday again with this team, whatever.
Yeah.
But when the MCU does their own X-Men, I do want them
Sure.
to create
Yeah.
their own music for that
Yeah.
team.
Because you
Uh,
notice, like the Fox movies, they have their problems. I do think their X-Men theme stands out as one of the very iconic ones too, and
mhm,
I feel like it would be cool if they kind of find a way to meld the two themes for the X-Men score and these upcoming movies. I think it'd be cool. Little fun fact about the Illuminati sequence: they almost actually got Daniel Craig to come in as Balder the Brave as one of their other cameos. It didn't end up happening, but it was something they attempted to do, which I think would have been pretty cool.
mhm.
And despite how fan servicey it was, I did think they had a handful of good characters to go from, and I think their big point was to just emphasize what you were talking about earlier, how much this movie focuses on tragedy. Um,
Mm,
and like you have, the big thing that people memed coming out of the movie. Oh, smartest man alive tells her exactly how to kill him. That's the thing
yeah,
about Reed Richards. He is scientifically smart. He is not. He is not um, emotionally smart. That is not him. He will use his arrogance and his know-how as a bragging right without realizing that he screws up emotionally like that. And that turning point right there is, I think, where we go from you know Marvel, like Flair with a little bit of Raimiism in there, and then that's the turning point where it goes full on Sam Raimi from there on to the end, in my opinion.
yeah. I think the third act is full on,
Well,
just borderline horror movie
well,
to a point.
yeah, because I
Um,
mean, you have the thing that really starts off with Black Bolt, where he's like, "Hey, like one word out of his mouth, and you're gone." What mouth? And then fucking explodes it, which again, like you were talking about, uh, got surprisingly graphic for a PG-13 movie. Um,
yeah,
um, and again, I didn't mind the way that they went out. I know a lot of people were mad about it. Um, I at first going into it, I'm like, is that really all we're going to see of Krasinski is Reed? And now of course, we have our own Reed in these movies now. But it's interesting to think about what would have happened had he been in the role more.
I don't. I'm honestly glad where we went. I think Pedro did a pretty great job.
Yeah,
I don't agree though, where people are like, no, he would have done a terrible job as the MCU Reed Richards. I'm like, I don't think there's enough there to make that point either way. Like,
no,
I think if he was the main Reed Richards, I think he would have done a fine enough job, and I think he would have
yeah,
finited his
yeah,
role as that
yeah.
character. Um,
I did love that line we got from Xavier whenever they're debating, like whether or not Strange should be trustworthy or not, because they're going into that whole story of, hey, Strange didn't actually die defeating Thanos. We had to kill Strange because he was too dangerous. It was a pretty tragic reveal, and Xavier brings back his line from Days of Future Past, where he says, just because someone stumbles, loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever. I love whenever that line is brought in.
Agreed.
Um, and then yeah, again, they really showcase Wanda's power, how she's able to break through his mental attack,
Yeah.
if you will. And like I said, I know you don't like that stuff, but I think
Mhm.
that it fully just showcases that again, like this is a tragic story, and the Illuminati are just unfortunately
Sure.
collateral damage in this war that's
I get
happening.
that.
Because at the end of the day, it is about Strange and Wanda.
Hmm. No, no, for sure. And again, I think there's a compromise there. I don't hate that the Illuminati part of this story. I just wish it felt a little bit more, I don't know, cemented into the film itself. It feels a little bit too like, I don't know, tacked on for me. Like it feels like they were very much like, okay, this needs to happen here. It needs to be done in this way. His line when he's like the like Alumawadi, like that stuff is a little bit too much like, okay, like yeah, it's very MCU writing for me. But like again, there are cool moments. Like I do think like the sequence itself when she's going into the mine, he cracks the neck. Like even though I don't like that they killed him again here, it is a
Yeah,
cool sequence and like there are cool fight scenes. I think the
yeah,
Captain Marvel versus Wanda fight is a cool fight. Like it's like visually really cool to see, even if I don't love
yeah.
exactly how it's presented.
And that Captain Carter fight got memed on heavy after the movie came out.
Yeah, and then you hear a lot of the behind the scenes of that and how it was filmed, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. Again, like that's another like I think she'll probably show up in Doomsday. Like I think that's another character where it's like, well, I think that would hit harder if she hadn't done it here first. I don't know. Again, I can't completely blame them for future stuff, but I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see. We'll see.
And like, I don't even blame Raimi for some of the compromises that had to
No.
be made during the movie either.
Oh no, I think this is I think most of my issues with this movie is not on Raimi. I'd say it's the opposite. I think it's the corporate heads being like, "Hey, we want you to do this instead of this." Like I think we would have seen a slightly different movie if he was
Yeah.
just able to do his thing completely. Like
Yeah. You would think they would have learned the lessons from Spider-Man 3, but nope, they didn't.
yeah, yeah, and I hope if there is a third Doctor Strange movie that again I'll be curious to see if he comes back. It seems like Sam Raimi is doing more of these more independent movies. Obviously, he's doing like a reboot to Magic, and he's doing a couple of these other projects. He just
Yeah.
doesn't help. I would not blame him if he just wanted to go do his own thing for a while, and they got someone else to do another director coming in to do Doctor Strange 3. We'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole third act of this movie goes full on Evil Dead, wild, wacky horror, and I personally kind of loved it. Like you've got the moments where they're like in the tunnel, wondering if they've outran Wanda, and then boom, she just shows up this close to the frame.
Yeah.
Love those shots. Again, I was very much reminded of certain Evil Dead sequences as we're going through there. Um, and I know I haven't really talked about it much up to this point. I know we're running a little long here. I'm sorry, but
Oh no, you're good.
I I gotta say I was perfectly fine with how they handled America Chavez in the movie.
I like America a lot. I was
Yeah.
just talking in my Discord. I think it's insane we haven't seen her in the MCU since this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And I know, like, I guess the same goes for like Doctor. Like, we haven't seen Doctor Strange since this project either. But like, we're in the multiverse saga. You have a character that can travel the multiverse. That's her ability. She can go multiverse to multiverse. I'll say it now. If she's not in Doomsday, I think that's a missed opportunity. Like, this seems like a character that should be in the front lines.
Because otherwise, how would you get to all these universes?
Yeah, I think I've said it for a while. I think they're hiding some like Young Avengers isms in this movie. I think we're going to
Yeah.
see more of those guys than we think. So I'm curious about that. I'm also curious, like, what does the character that travels the multiverse look like post Multiverse Saga? You know what I mean? Like, obviously they can transition her. Like, you end the movie with like her learning the like Doctor Strange magic stuff, so they could transition into a more, Doctor
Yeah.
Strange kind of character for her if they want to. But yeah, no, I think again, like you said, the third act is great. Wanda's dead. Dead. Wanda's
Yeah.
another character we haven't seen since this.
Yeah. I was really getting annoyed whenever people were complaining about the final, like the fight between Wanda and America in the movie. I saw so many people going, "Oh, this just feels like a gratuitous girl power fight." I'm like, "What?" Like, it's the freaking plot of the movie. Like, this person's chasing her, this person's finding her abilities, now this person's fighting back. Like, it's not gratuitous, it's the plot. It's what's happening. It's the natural course of events. Like, what do you think would happen?
Yeah.
And one complaint that I do see people give, which I think you could chop a little bit, to just how the movie was edited. That like throughout the second and third act, you have those moments where it just kind of intercuts to like Wong on the mountain, and then he just gets like zipped away for a little bit until the final battle. But I like that whole kind of catharsis that Strange goes through as we get to that final fight,
Mm,
where he goes to open up the Darkhold himself, and Christine's goes, "Hey, like this is exactly like what the other you did. He thought he could control everything," and he's like, "I know, but I don't want to do this alone. I need your help to do this. I need you to be able to pull me back if things get bad." And when you get to Wanda fighting Strange and Wong does, he advocates for what Strange was going to do at the beginning, the other Strange, where he's like,
hmm
"You need to take her power. It's the only way." And then Strange turns around and he has faith. He's like, "No, she can do this. I don't always have to be in control. I love that arc for his character.
And yeah, I think it's a good transition to, or like a good parallel to Spider-Man, which we just got, which has a very similar arc where Peter wants to save all of these villains and give them better futures. Like, no, this is what's best for the multiverse at large. Like, they have to die. And so I like to think that maybe he takes a little bit, even though he doesn't remember who Peter is, maybe he can remember a little bit of the lessons that he taught him in that experience of, like, sometimes it's it's worthy to take risks if it can save some people's lives. Like, I like that little bit, the parallel. And then I love Christine in this movie. Like you said, I think she gets a lot more to do in this movie, obviously, than she does in the previous Doctor Strange movie. And I like that it's kind of like a better version of what they were trying to do in, like, Wonder Woman 1989, is, if that's what it's called. 1984, thank you. Where I think, like, that movie was trying to tell the story about, like, moving on and moving past your first love and stuff like that. But I don't think that movie successfully does it. Well, this movie, I think, is a nice little, like, you don't always get to be with the person you want to be with, and moving on is a big part of that journey. And this was a movie for him about being able to, accept his past love and move on to somewhere else, which with how the movie ends, it seems like that's where they were building to, someone who doesn't know that character very well.
That character is more commonly his love interest than anyone else.
Which, skipping to that, I guess. Not my favorite post-credit scenes either, if I'm going to be honest. I think both of them work fine, but both of them together don't really work for me. Like, you do the eye thing, which is supposed to be like oh, holy shit, this is a whatever crazy moment, and then you skip to him being fine with the eye. The next post-credit scene, he just kind of, like, wandering down the street being like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, well, the first, like, ending you see with the eye where it opens, that's the actual end of the movie. And then you get the post-credit scene where it almost seems like you did it, like you did half of it again. And then, which again, I chalk that up to editing.
I don't think they work in tandem to each other, if I'm being honest. I think if I could go back in time, I would just do the eye thing, especially since it's been almost 5 years since this movie came out, and we haven't got a Doctor Strange movie. And so by the time we do see a Doctor Strange movie again, people aren't going to remember the post-credit scene for Doctor Strange. It's been such a long, like, you're going to have to redo all that anyway. So yeah, and I think it's bigger for comic fans. Like if you're a fan of the comics, that's a huge moment.
Yeah.
If you're not, that's going to be like a
okay. Yeah.
All right. Some woman shows up. That's fine. I get. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I'll say I did love the final post-credit scene where they showed the where they showed the spell finally wearing off. Because I mean, one, it's like it took the actual duration of the movie for it to, but also again, it's Bruce Campbell doing the Bruce Campbell things. Where he just looks at the screen and goes, it's over. Obviously, it's a little bit of a meta break there because obviously the movie's over, but also the spell is finally over. And me and my old man were laughing hysterically at that in the theater while the entire bottom row in front of us was just mad, thinking they wasted their time with the post-credit scenes.
Yeah, I wasn't, again, as someone who didn't get the reference, I was like, this is strange. Unintended. I was like, all right, whatever. This is probably a thing I just don't understand, which is true, I guess.
I don't mean to sound like gatekeepy or anything when I say that. It's just, I think I came into this movie with a very different perspective than a lot of other people. But also, I talked about this a little bit before, like going into it. This was, I don't know if I've seen another movie where it's been just me and my old man since this. But during that time, there was a lot of bad family stuff that was going on, so we kind of needed this break. It really, really helped in that regard. And this is after I had just gotten through, like a month and a half prior, I had just got done having a brain surgery, so I was still in recovery. So then we kind of got both of us to the theater, and that's still one of the more memorable theater experiences of my life personally is that one.
I get that. Yeah. I mean, this is a character that you obviously have this attachment to as well. So
Yeah, yeah. Character, memories, filmmaker.
I get it.
So yeah, a lot of great
I
stuff.
I get it. Yeah, and this isn't in my like upper espionage of Marvel movies for me, but I liked it a lot more this time than I did the first time. I think I have my flaws with it. I have things that don't 100% work for me, but I do disagree with I think a lot of the discourse that's had. Where I think most of the discourse that has had comes from expectations not being met. It's met with characters going in different directions than I thought. It goes into people thinking Deadpool and Spider-Man and all these characters are
Yeah,
going to show up in here, which they were never going to.
yeah.
Is some of that on the marketing? Maybe, but
Even then, like people like Ryan Reynolds flat out said, "Hey, I'm not in the movie."
sure.
But
Which that's kind of ruined now because of Andrew Garfield. But yeah.
yeah, and even in this movie, before everything was official, Patrick Stewart was in an interview and he goes, "Who's Doctor Strange?"
Oh my god.
Which I thought that was funny personally. Which like
Yeah.
I've seen somebody take like a compilation of all those times in recent movies that actors were like trying to lie about their involvement. Like it was Andrew Garfield, Patrick Stewart, Daphne Keane, and Harrison Ford. And what's funny is the only one of those that I would have believed was Harrison Ford.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's but yeah, that kind of takes us towards the end. Obviously, two very big Marvel movies. It
Yeah,
was very
both.
fun to do this deep dive and really dive into these movies.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll say this: both of these movies are in my top five.
okay. Well, hell yeah, man. Hell yes. Jake, thank you so much for
Of
joining
course.
us on today's episode. Um, anything that you would like to shout out, promo, anything people need to go check out?
Well, I'm gonna have a review to Supergirl coming up this weekend. I'm seeing it in about 24 hours, and then I'm trying to get a lot of what are called bonus videos out of the way before Comic Con season rolls around. Also getting really close to both 2K and monetization, trying to hit those milestones. And yeah, a lot of comic related videos, a lot of game related videos, coverage for X-Men 97 that's right around the corner. And yeah, I think I really want to give attention to a lot of those bonus videos because while I love covering the current stuff, the bonus videos kind of just give me free reign to tackle them any way I want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah,
Um,
and then I'll be coming back with my Lost Level series on July 12th because I'm about to be out of town for a week. And I will say that there's a sub stream series that's in the works that relates to a favorite character of mine, and that's all I'll say.
Alrighty, man. Yeah, this episode comes out July 9th, so some of the stuff may either be out already or is about to come out or whatever. I don't know how it will translate to real time.
Ah, right after my birthday.
Yes. So yeah, go check out all his stuff. I'm trying to think. At the time this is coming out, next week should be, if things line up well, our Descendants 5 episode. We're gonna try and get Taj on for that. So look out for that. I think Supergirl came out last week at the time that this is coming out. Got things like the Odyssey episode will be coming up here shortly. After the credits every Monday. At this point in time, we'll probably be going over X-Men 97 and probably My Adventures of Superman still and all that kind of jazz. And yeah, great stuff all around. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Farewell. Goodbye.